Welcome to Absolute Comics, the show that Sal and I stream live every Tuesday at about 5 p.m. Eastern. We then upload over to our Patreons a couple of days later, where you get early access by directly supporting both Sal and myself by going to our Patreons, and then gets put up to the YouTube a week later. This show is simple. We talk about comic books, we talk about movies, we talk about video games, we talk about whatever is related to the comic book zeitgeist. And today's show is brought to you not by our old sponsor, Water. You get out of here, Water. Actually, don't I need this bottle, but by G Fuel. If you want to get 30% off of your G Fuel, 33% at the moment of recording this, 30% at when this goes live on YouTube, it is between the numbers of 10 to 33%, depending on when you're watching this. Use the code COMICS at checkout. But yes, G Fuel's amazing, gives me all that energy. How do you think I get through the opening the way that I just did, over and over and over? All right, Sal. We're starting today's Sal Supernatural will be a thing. So if you guys do want to support the show and you want to keep it going and you do enjoy it, you have the options of going to our sponsors or going to either patreon.com/comicbop or patreon.com/comicstorian and directly supporting the two hosts, or you can just sub right here at our Twitch channel. All of those means are how we fund this show. And I mean, if you like the show, you want it to continue, don't you? So that's how we fund it. So,
damn right.
And this episode's going to be all over the place. We're coming back after Thanksgiving break. Comic books have been weird for the last 3 weeks because they weren't putting out a whole bunch, so we got a bunch of weird topics to talk about. So many weird things have happened in the world of comic books. Yeah. And we also have to touch on something, Sal.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Let's touch it.
So this was funded by our viewers. Did you watch the first 3 episodes of Supernatural? Do we have a Supernatural episode to film after this?
No. Was that the plan?
They funded it. You have to watch the first 3 episodes to kick off Supernatural. That was the plan.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I didn't do that yet.
You're gonna get a pass because now this is being filmed and recorded. So I have evidence.
All right.
You'll get a pass this week.
It's on record. We'll I'll watch those first.
By
3
next
episodes.
Tuesday's recording, we should have a Supernatural episode. We hope. Folks.
Okay.
We hope.
We'll do our best. I mean, I'll watch them.
I love the way you said that. We'll do our best. Like you're not the only person that has to watch the 3.
Right, yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, if I can get...
Like, what the hell, Benny? You're just throwing this at me randomly.
No, I mean, we talked about it. I remember. I just didn't get a chance to. It's been a crazy holiday.
It has been, and that's the point I'm getting at here. The holidays have been insane. There was something I was going to talk about right before this. Oh, so before we get into our comic book discussion, I wanted to bring this up. I finally got to watch the Watchmen TV show. I started with the first episode, and I'll admit I was in the same boat as you. I was going to watch it either way, but part of me didn't want to because how were they pitching it, Sal? You had the best way.
They were describing it as kind of like it's not really like a sequel to Watchmen. It's more like a reimagining, but it is going to take place after Watchmen. So, and I'm like, what is this random assortment of buzzwords that are described? Because they were saying that it's not a direct sequel, but it's also not an adaptation. It's more like a spirit of originality while being inspired by Watchmen, and I'm like, that all sounds like nothing to me. That just sounds like you're just doing a show and you're calling it Watchmen anyway, but it has nothing to do with Watchmen. and the trailer did nothing to dissuade me of that. They're just like, hey, it's all about masks and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, people technically wore them in the book, but it had nothing to do with masks as kind of like a thematic element. And they're like, no, the police are wearing them, and there's this underground element, and they're using the Rorschach logo, and I'm like, yeah, that's just taking images that you didn't have a placeholder for and then using Watchmen like iconography. That being said, apparently, no, I'm completely wrong, and it's actually, what is it? They're trying to say that, like, no, it's not really a sequel.
So to this day, apparently, they still claim that it's not a direct sequel, but it's 100% a direct sequel.
Yeah,
okay, so I
right on down to the Squid Monster.
We ran out of shows to watch. I watched all my Rick and Morty. I watched the new episode of Harley Quinn, which is amazing, and I want to talk about that today. But
okay.
Eventually we got down to the Watchmen, and Natalie and I are like, let's finally just watch Watchmen. And without spoiling the plot of the first episode, it is a direct sequel. It takes place about 35 to 38 years later. It's in 2019. The original events happened. Ozymandias, Rorschach, the Minutemen, all of that happened. The Squid Monster wormhole is still open. No one knows how to deal with it. We are dealing with an age in which masked vigilantes are working with the police, who are also masked so that nobody can track down who they are. The police are wearing the masks for the same reason the vigilantes are. No one knows who they are or where their families are. It's like just a whole masked situation. Counter to that, we have basically white supremacists who are wearing the Rorschach mask, telling everyone that they're holding them back. Which, I mean, that sounds like, oh, it's super political. It's no more political than Watchmen is. It's literally, it's just political in the same manner as normal Watchmen. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
They reference everything. There's even a newspaper that says that Adrian's dead. Like, they don't go into it. There's just a newspaper. There's a now, bear in mind, I've only seen episode 1. But there's an old man who gets a couple scenes that made all kinds of weird sense. I don't think Adrian's dead, but we'll see.
I think you're right. But that's cool. All right.
No, I'm not. Our chat's trying to tell me that the vigilantes are illegal. If that's the case, 100% not portrayed in the original pilot episode, considering there's a police meeting where they all sit down to go over the current problem, and there's an entire row of vigilantes who are working alongside the police.
Right.
So if that is the case, I'm only on episode 1. Bear in mind, like if they go deeper into that, that's fine. I'm not going to look at the chat right now because 1, we're doing a podcast where we don't answer chat, and 2, you guys are going to spoil things. So
yes, good point.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's direct sequel, but it takes place 35 years later. So the concept of it being reimagining or being a different show, it's there, but only in the sense of it's so far after the events of Watchmen.
Right.
They don't directly reference anything from Watchmen, but you can feel it in the show.
That's fine. Yeah, that sounds. I mean, like, if these guys have a really, really creative, original concept that they have that's a sequel to Watchmen. I mean, I've talked about this before at length. The idea of a sequel to Watchmen and whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. I mean, like, we have now multiple sequels to Watchmen. We got the comic book Doomsday Clock. We got the comic book before Watchmen, which is kind of like reimagining and, you know, informing what happened in actual Watchmen. You've got the show now. You have the movie, which kind of is its own interpretation. Like, there's room for it all. And I think as long as the show is trying to do something really kind of like original, then there's always room for it. So That's cool. Like, I'm down for it. I just haven't had time. It's just, the reality is I just haven't had a minute to watch more shows than I'm already watching.
Well, it's no different than the video game market or the argument that people like to make about the comic book market. Why aren't they selling 200,000 copies every issue? It's because we've oversaturated anything that's popular and makes money. There's 50, like, okay, taking the same exact problem with the Watchmen show. The Watchmen show is not on CW, it's not on Hulu, it's not on Netflix, it's not on Disney+. So right off the bat, I have to remember to go to my HBO to watch it. That's the first issue I run into. Secondly, I have, these are the ones I'm watching, and I know there's more, and I'm not watching them, but it was Titans, Flash, Batwoman, those
Black
are the
Lightning?
3 core. I stopped watching Black Lightning, I stopped watching Supergirl, I just don't have time for them. There's a few other, and then I'm watching my non-superhero shows though. Shameless, I'm watching Shameless pretty religiously.
Sure.
We watch like the Goldbergs and Modern Family. We watch that around here. Like, so I have a whole bunch of shows I'm already watching. I have like 30 to 50 comic books to read a week. And then I sit down at night and I'm like, what game do I want to play? Well, I'm working on Death Stranding. I got the Jedi game. I've got like 5 MMOs that I'm playing.
No, there is a glut of content and just not enough time, hours, and energy to absorb it all. Especially since not only are we also absorbers of content because we're nerds, but we're also creators of content because we're here. Like, so not only do we not have enough time to watch everything, play everything, we've also got to make stuff, and then you're making stuff that's usually commentating on the stuff that's already made, so it's like, I got to prioritize the stuff that's being made, and I got to make room for that stuff, and maybe not make room for the things that I would rather watch or would like to watch, but know that it won't perform. You know, like...
Well, exactly. And now Watchmen is a thing for me, because now I want to see what's going to happen in that show. So now I got to find time to watch that one. We're in a day and age where... And like what? We've got the Superman show coming out, which I do want to talk about today as well.
Yeah.
We have like a whole bunch of other shows. We have the Crisis event starting up this week, which I know you're probably going to watch that, even though you don't watch the CW shows, right?
That's right. I'm not going to... I don't watch any of the CW shows. I haven't really ever. I've seen the first 3 episodes of Arrow. I've seen the first episode of Supergirl. You know, like, these are the things I've seen of those shows, which is to say, statistically speaking, I've never watched the CW shows.
Right.
But, like, I'm definitely going to check out this Crisis thing.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. We're in a day and age where there's just too much content coming out, and I love when like games come out and they're like, "Why isn't our game hitting millions of copies?" Because you're competing with 9 other games, every comic book, every movie, every show for people's times. I mean, I just took a week off, Sal. We had the Thanksgiving break, and I took an entire week off.
Yeah,
and I am nowhere near caught up on anything.
No, I feel the same way. I really don't. Like, I don't feel caught up, and I remember being back. We had a snowstorm recently, and so I was snowed in yesterday, so I had to shoot Off the Rack from the house. Off the Rack's our comic review show. And I was like, I still felt like in vacation mode because I'm like, I'm not in the studio, I'm not making regularly scheduled stuff. I actually edited a whole bunch of things ahead of time so that I could be ready for the holiday. So like, I'm starting handicapped as far as this week is concerned. Right. And I can't afford to be because there's stuff to talk about and there's shows to make. Like, there's just no time, man. There's no time.
Sal, this is not even a joke. Okay, so work-wise, I've figured out a trick to be super ahead. You double dip. Slight plug for my gaming Twitch channel, the Eligible Monster channel. I have been starting every episode on time, but I'm doing it recording audios for the Comic Storian channel. So people are just hanging out with me while I do my job. Then we play games. So I'm double dipping now, Sal. That's how
nice.
That's how tight everything's gotten.
I hear you.
But I'm so far ahead on content now. Literally, I'm putting up votes on Twitter because YouTube, I got a phone call with them, and they said, you seem to have had a schedule a while ago, but there's no evidence of that now.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows you have a schedule. You should make a schedule and post it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. So I'm looking at, okay, this is what our schedule will be. And then I'm looking at how many videos we have made and just waiting on my channel. And I'm like, great, we have 7 videos that I haven't put out. I have Curse of the White Knight 1, 2, and 3, and 2, 3, 4 ready to go. I have Gwenpool 3 and 4 ready to go. We have the God of War storyline ready to go. We have the Call of Duty Ghosts Origins comic ready to go. We have Crisis on Infinite Earths, everyone who's wondering, is a 30-minute video sitting on my channel, currently on Patreon. It's not live, but it's on my Patreon.
Yeah.
I just recorded Doomsday Clock 1 through 4. That'll be up tonight on Patreon.
Nice.
I have all of this content. On top of that, today I did a video that's going out about the Super Sons potential in the Superman show, which is what I want to talk about in a bit.
Oh.
And a second video of my opinions of Titan Season 2 that I have to also find room for.
Right. Yeah, no, that's the thing is that the spirit is willing, but like the platform is lacking because you put out too many things at once, it's going to kill the algorithm. You know, you have to prioritize those videos, and then it's like, I got all these shows. What am I going to do with them all?
So what it ends up turning, what we're getting at, guys, is there's just too much content, and then you throw it out. Like, we're YouTubers, so that's not even in a rotation of like we have to go watch our latest YouTube videos. Now other people are like, oh yeah, I got to watch all the superhero shows and watch you guys.
Right. Yeah, that is not. I do not envy you good people who actually watch our stuff. I do appreciate it because we're competing with them too.
So anyway, Watchmen, really good shows. What we're getting at. We're in a day and age where there's too much content rolling out, and it's becoming a problem to find time for these. So now I got to binge watch Watchmen over this entire week. By the time we film the next CTV, I'm gonna be like, so I'm caught up on Watchmen. Here's my opinions on it.
Yeah.
Oh God, and there's a Flash episode tonight. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. Before let's get into the comics real quick before we move on to anything else. Okay, so we both agreed before this episode that because comics have been coming out weird for the last 3 weeks, where it's like almost nothing and then like one big book. We're both just gonna open up our comics and kind of go through a couple topics.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list here. Did you read Conan 2009?
Yes.
I want more of that.
I know. Yeah, Tiffany read it, and we reviewed it last night. I read it last night as well. I'm like, this is great. I don't think there's going to be any more, but I kind of wish there was.
Yeah.
No, it's a great idea, and it sounded like such a concept that was really stupid. Like, it sounded like they had a Ravage 2099 pitch, and they were just like, oh, we'll just make a Conan. Screw it.
Right.
But no, it's a straight-up Conan story set kind of in the year 2099. I love where it ends up. I want a series. I hope it sells well.
Well, so this actually leads me to the next question I wanted to ask you. What is this 2099 thing in your opinion?
I don't know, man. It feels like a half event. It feels like something like I don't know, like Pleasantville or Pleasant Hill, where it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's these books, and like they're kind of about this thing, but like who cares? Like 2099, that book Alpha came out. There's a bunch of other tie-ins to it because Nick Spencer's, of course, writing the Alpha book and Spider-Man. So there's teasers to that in Spider-Man, and
I feel like he decided to do a Spider-Man 2099 thing, and Marvel was like, "Why don't we try remaking it?" Nick Spencer, you game? And it all spiraled out of that, but with no plan. That's what it feels like. There's no plan here for what.
Yeah.
There's no order to read these 2099s. They all feel like weird one-off what ifs. Like
right, because Punisher 2099, Ghost Rider is coming out next week or this week.
Doom already came out, I think.
Doom, you got a lot of 2099 books that are not related to the event, or if they are, they're only like. If they are related, I don't know how they fit, and if I'm not, and if I don't know how they fit, I'm not going to give it the time to learn, because at the end of the day, as much as Marvel likes to say, 2099 is the actual future of the Marvel Universe.
Right.
I don't buy that for a second, and I don't care. I don't care about your alternate future because it's not now, and it's not happening.
Well, is it Days of Future Past? No, it's not real.
Right. I really just, so for them to do this, it's gonna be, it's almost, and it's, I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to say, but it feels, I'm having those feelings like I did for Future's End, where I'm like, so this is in an alternate future that might not even really happen, and I'm supposed to care about these people?
Right. Oh, that was the problem with Future's End. And also, they tried to stretch it way too much and turn it into a Batman Beyond story.
Yeah. and it wound up being nothing, and it satisfied literally nobody. So with 2099, they got to be really careful to compartmentalize it, but streamline it in a way where they all align, and so people know what the hell this is. Because I don't think they do. And it's too bad, by the way, because 2099 Alpha was drawn by Victor Bogdanovic, who is, I'm calling it now, the next Greg Capullo. So, check it out.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, man. This 2099 thing is driving me crazy because I want to dig it, but it's mostly because when I was a kid, I read 2099, and I
was a huge fan. Yeah, back in the day I was.
Well, I don't know about you, but there's only two 2099 characters worth a damn, and it's Spider-Man and Doom. Otherwise, who cares? Hulk.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider came later, though. He wasn't part of the original family.
I thought
came
he
later.
was.
No, the original books that came out were Doom, Ravage, Spider-Man, and then an X-Men, and then a short while later, Ghost Rider came out. And I remember him showing up and being like, "Oh, Ghost Rider's here too," and he looks amazing.
He does. No, those are my favorites. Spider-Man and Ghost Rider 2099. Those are my two.
That's fair. Well, and Ghost Rider 2009 is coming, and I don't know if it's the same Ghost Rider. I doubt it, because I feel like no one's the same except for Spider-Man and maybe Doom.
I don't know. It's. I'm kind of leaving it at a foot, because it started dropping around the time that I decided to save books for the trip to Brazil that I didn't take.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of them I'm just keeping at arm's length. Conan. Okay.
But that Conan book, again, the problem is, if it's a problem at all, the Conan book is great, but has almost nothing to do with whatever the hell they're doing over at 2099. So, but you do get a totally Boston cool Conan book out of it. So, I'm not going to argue. It's just but where does it fit? What does it mean? I don't know. And I don't think they do either. I think you're absolutely right. I think they're just kind of Spencer's going to do a thing. I guess we'll just all do it.
I hate to say this, but I feel like ever since Spider-Gwen, and then the follow-up situation of Gwenpool.
Yes.
Marvel's just thrown this idea of just throwing a ton of characters and designs against a wall to see who oversells and then turn them into a book.
Yep.
Because that seems to be the strategy they're going. Oh, everyone loves the appearance of Gwenpool. Turn her into a character. Oh, everyone loves Spider-Gwen. Because if I remember correctly, Spider-Gwen started very similar to Gwenpool, wasn't she? Wasn't she a variant cover at one point?
No. Spider-Gwen was, she was the equivalent of a variant cover. She was one of the stories in the Edge of Spider-Verse book.
That was it. Okay, yeah. So it was basically the 2099 concept.
Right,
she was just so popular in the Edge of the Spider-Verse.
Yes,
that everyone brought her in.
We gotta do something with this character. We can't just limit her to appearing in Spider-Verse.
Right.
And I'm sure also, before they were finished writing Spider-Verse, after Edge of Spider-Verse came out, Wacker went to Slott's door and was like, "Oh, by the way, don't kill that Gwen character." Because we have big plans for this awesome design. And arguably, it's a good thing they did, because Spider-Gwen was a great design and a really neat-looking universe.
Oh, and she's become a great character in her own right. I love the character. I'm not even arguing. I mean, she's one of my favorites that I follow. We're about to wrap that story up on the Comic Storian channel right now.
Oh, nice. Well,
yeah.
I'll be there to watch
the original. I'm not doing any of the new stuff. We actually decided we're going to end with the Gwenna arc and then just jump to the current book where she's using it.
That's fair. That's cool. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you're right. I think Marvel's just like, if there's money on the table, I'm going to take it. So whatever. And no one's going to complain because, there's going to be something for everybody and we're just putting them out. And Marvel's not afraid of putting out 1,000 books a month.
They literally, even DC has told them that this is a problem. And they're like,
you're hurting everyone. And Marvel's like, more books!
I know. How many can we put out? DC's like, dude, you got to stop. Just slow your roll. And Marvel's like,
never! Yeah, that's how it feels.
You know what my response to you is, DC? 24 variant covers for Mary Jane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then they're like, well, how about another Frank Miller Dark Knight sequel with a gazillion variant covers?
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I do feel like whenever DC calls out Marvel, half the time it's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Big time. I mean, well, they're all guilty.
Marvel, you got to slow your roll. You got to put out less books. You're the villain, Titans.
Oh my god. Yeah, it could have just been a Justice League story that everyone kind of enjoyed, but no.
Honestly, I've been falling off of the Justice League plot because of this. Because now it's like so spread out into everything. I'm just
Well, and that Justice League arc should have ended 2 arcs ago. Each arc, he's like, oh, it's gonna be even bigger, and it's and I'm like, I don't. It's too big. It gets too big. Eventually,
it's exactly.
You don't know how
after Sixth Dimension, I feel like it should have started going towards the closure.
Yes.
And it feels like he's like,
was cool. The momentum was still there. Yeah, no, Sixth Dimension, the momentum was there. You had Jimenez on the art. It was so great.
Yep.
And then it just kind of it just got too bloated. Plus, I don't know if I'm alone here, but I think Perpetua is a terrible concept. I just can't.
I don't think her concept's a terrible concept. I think the character of Perpetua itself is not a great character. I do like the concept of the Source Wall was there in its entirety to block this ultimate evil being.
Right.
I do like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, we have so many ultimate evil beings that so the Anti-Monitor was huge, and then and now this person's even bigger than that, and she made all these other things, and Barbatos. It's all too much, too big, too soon. Dark Knight's Metal is barely still. We're still feeling the fallout from Metal. And I mean, I know that book came out over a year ago, but maybe 2 years ago now that I think about it. But we're still feeling the fallout from Metal.
Yeah.
I mean, the Batman Who Laughs is still a thing.
I mean, I am a huge fan of Scott Snyder's writing. I think it's well known with that. I literally like to read everything he puts out. I like all of his events. I do like the Justice League, but the problem I feel
I like his Justice League too. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like what he's doing in Justice League. I think the problem is, it's like you said, we're still feeling the fallouts of Metal. Metal technically hasn't really gone away. So instead of this being a 40-issue giant bloated event, it's technically a 150-issue giant bloated event because it's all coming out of Metal and then breaking the Source Wall. It's almost like Metal was the catalyst for everything, and it's still being felt as we're going.
Yeah.
And that's just causing more and more issues. And up to the Sixth Dimension, I was like, it's getting very bloated. It's getting very out of control. We're not getting any decompression space in his story right now. And when Sixth Dimension ended, I was like, perfect. Okay, we hit a peak. We're chilling for a minute. And then he went and now we're going ham again. It was like, oh, God, I need to breathe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that he's having fun with his universe because the fact is, it is, the fun is felt, but, and I appreciate that he's not, expanding the cast too much. It's this team, it's this villain team, and it's this hero team, and we're just dealing with those characters. But I feel like because it's gotten too big and too long, we haven't had a chance to really focus on anything.
Well, for me, it became a problem following it when he started jumping through the 3 timelines.
Oh my God, no. Yeah, the 3 timelines thing, I was like, ooh, but even then, the things that he chose to cover were DC 1 million. Oh, okay. The JSA. Weren't they going to do something with Doomsday Clock? Wait, what? just it seemed like it's less like a Hickman-esque architecture and more of a John Byrne, I'm not going to stop doing it. And I know that like one feeds into the other, but they're not building scaffolding here. It's just a straight line.
I do like how I like when the JSA showed up, they referenced how everyone forgot they existed. And how not, but they didn't touch on any of it because it's all Tuesday Clock related.
I know.
So
I love how
oh, you guys don't remember us? No. Where do we exist in your timeline? We don't know. Anyway, come with us.
I can't believe that they were like, okay, so Barry doesn't remember Jay, but then Jay shows up in, what was it, The Button? And then Barry meets Jay, and you're like, and he's like, I don't even know who you are. And I'm like, dude, Howard Porter drew both scenes. Like, I have a visual continuity of these two things happening, and there's no correlation.
You would think that there would at least be an off comment of, I saw you running through the Speed Force. We
some
should
kind of
talk when
reference.
this is done.
Yeah, but it's just like, oh, neat, you're a Flash too. Like, then make it Max Mercury if you want to make it so that they don't care about each other. But this is weird. But that's another thing. That's just the spiraling nature of DC's editorial continuity, which is just kind of like, oh my God, I don't even want to get into. That's a whole other episode. Just suffice it to say, Justice League, I think it's finally wrapping up, and thank God.
No, I think that's honestly, like, a lot of people, like, when I heard that Scott Snyder's run got cut a little short, whether or not he decided to do it or the artist
I think it was his decision to leave, which I think works better because it allows for him to let go and to wrap it up.
And that's what I think it is too. But I do feel, whether it's his decision or whether DC's decision, part of it was like, okay, this has been getting a little out of control. Let's just tighten it back up and like wrap up what you're doing, and we'll keep it going. Because he's not, I don't know. It's interesting to see the decision. I do like the book, but it's gotten to the point where I'm waiting for multiple issues to come out so I can just read them all in a sitting kind of a situation. I don't want to read them individually anymore. No. And I think it tells the levels that he's taken the story to. I wanted to talk about Batman Beyond. What do you got?
Oh, what about Batman Beyond? Just the book?
Well, they finally introduced Batwoman Beyond.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I saw the cover. I don't read Batman Beyond anymore, but neat. Who is it?
They haven't revealed who it is yet. The immediate thought they got the big players off the table right away.
Okay.
They got rid of Nisa. They got rid of Barbara. Like Bruce is like, oh, we know it's you. Oh, it's not you. Like,
fair enough. Okay.
And the way they did it is the previous battle in which they brought in Old Man Flash, Terry lost his memory. So whoever this Batwoman is, she decided right off the bat, like, oh, well, we can't not have a Batman.
Right.
But the suit is easily trackable by everyone. So,
yeah.
like for a suit that is supposed to be incognito, like everyone seems to have a feed into this thing.
Right. What the hell?
So, and they already went to Ace, because Ace is the main character in the show, on the comic book. Melanie, I think her name is, real name. But they already went to her. It's not her. I like what they're doing with it, because they're not treating it like, I'm Batman's replacement. It's like, Batman's gone. So.
Right. And I'm a woman, so it's going to be Batwoman.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're basically calling it.
That's fair. I'm in for that. I mean, like, I love the idea of expanding on the Batman Beyond universe. That universe has, when they first created the Batman Beyond universe for the show, they didn't have a Bible. They were just kind of like, make a teenage Batman, and they were like, oh, if we set it in the future, it'll be we can play with Japanese inspired designs and stuff, and it won't look weird. So there's plenty of space for Batman Beyond to get explored and to keep adding to it. So go for it.
Well, that's what I loved about this, because they've tried this Batman Beyond thing a couple times. Future's End. Oh yeah. They tried a separate storyline. I loved this is that technically it's a different universe, but they're basically like, it's an alternate universe that happens to have followed the TV show's universe to the T. So
that's fine, because that's the one everyone loves.
Right. And that's what I love about it, which for the record, when we get to Superman, I'll talk about that too, because I think they're doing a very similar concept with that show. Mm-hmm. But like that's what they're doing. They're like, it's an alternate universe, but everything that you loved, it all happened. So I love that they've been expanding on it, because they're like, well, what happened to Damian? Here's an answer. What happened to Joker? Here's an answer. Like, and every arc has mostly been that way, or introducing a new version of a character. Like they did a Scarecrow Beyond, which was awesome the way they did that.
That's awesome.
So when they announced, I love a lot of people are being like, well, they're just making Batwoman Beyond because, the show and SJWs. And I'm like, no, it's if you're expanding on the lore, and we've already done Old Man Flash, we've already done Robin Beyond, we've already done Joker Beyond, we've done Scarecrow Beyond, we've done some of the brand new characters and revisited characters like Faceless or Face Off or whatever his name is, the guy that we just fought. Like, it would only make sense that if a show called Batwoman came out, well, let's explore what Batwoman Beyond is.
Seriously, no, if there's no Batwoman book, then make a Batwoman Beyond book or something. Like, there needs to, you really, really need, especially for the comic book industry's perspective, to have some equivalent on the shelf.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it. I love the fact that we are getting answers, even if it's technically an alternate universe. It's the universe. Come on.
Yeah.
It's basically an excuse of if they ever go back to the show, they can be like, well, ignore the comic book continuity. You know?
I mean, they will. Yeah. But that's still, I'm on board. I love that idea. I'll have to go back because I missed it. It's not even that I chose not to read it. It's that I saw the preview and then I just never saw it again.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I'm liking it a lot.
Cool.
Now I do want to talk about this too.
Okay.
Absolute Carnage is done technically. We have some epilogues and shit like that. But
yeah.
What do you think? What did you think of that?
I wish that Venom 20 was part of it because Venom 20? The most recent issue of Venom is like really the end of Absolute Carnage. Absolute Carnage
I agree,
5,
and I hate the fact that it is, and that they didn't tell anyone.
Exactly. No, they needed that last page needed to be like read Venom number 20 because it's not over yet. Because I don't know. It came out on time. It had the same writer and artist combo. There was no delays. There was no issues. For all intents, and it's only 5 issues. For all intents and purposes, this is a successful, great event. It was fun. It paid homage. It managed to satisfy the corporate need for tie-ins without also ruining the flow and read of the main series. Everything about it's great. For me, I lost interest around issue 3. And that's rough because it's only 5 issues and it's about most of my favorite characters. At the end of it, it wraps up so quickly and hastily that I was like, damn it. It's not that I was like disappointed so much as I was sad for the creators because you can tell they didn't want to wrap up the book like that. Like they clearly were like, we need a double-page book or something, but instead they were like, no, you got this and you're lucky you're getting this. And so they did everything they could to wrap it up. That's how it felt. It felt too hasty. It felt it felt too rushed. And I dug the shit out of it. I just wish it was, I don't know. I wish that it had the satisfying conclusion that Venom provided. And that's too bad because I don't want to have to buy another friggin' issue just to get the end of this main book.
I think the problem is it ties into the issue that I have with Marvel in general. They greenlight like, okay, you got 5 issues.
Right.
And then, oh, crap, well, I want to tell more about Dylan. That's going to be in the side book. And I want to have epilogue. It's going to be in the side book. And they don't clearly tell you these books and how they're linked together. And that's the big issue I have with events like Absolute Carnage and Secret Empire and all those events. Marvel what they need to do is just sit down and be like, what is your story? Where did you want to put everything? They need to figure this out, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They need a plan way ahead of time. I mean, like, and I understand that they don't do that. And I know that it's like hard to do, I guess. But at the same time, I just wish that it like I wish that they could get all their ducks in a row like 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah. No,
because
I agree.
then it would all come out on time. You'd have the right creative team. You'd know ahead of time whether there was going to be a delay or a problem with the artist or the writer or the story or the political or social climate. You know, and you can plan for it. But instead, it's just kind of like and I know it takes time. It's not like Stegman was drawing the book in between issues 4 and 5. You know, like he had the book pretty done. But at the same time, it still feels hasty. It still feels rushed, and it shouldn't be. These are stories. You should have an idea about how they end and where they go and what's going to be tied into them well in advance.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, it's cool. I don't want anyone misunderstanding our comments too, because like at the end of the day, as I said up at the top of our discussion about Absolute Carnage, it's a successful event. It did everything that I could ever expect it to, and it did it without being pandering or silly or like losing focus.
Yeah,
it was just maybe Carnage wasn't the right format. Like maybe it shouldn't have been Carnage. I don't know what it was that just didn't make it coalesce the way it should have. But it was a highly successful book, and at least I hope sales wise. But in terms of execution. It's exactly what I want. It's a good template for events.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I loved the event overall.
Yeah.
I do wish it was all tied up better. So many of the tie-ins, having gone through and covered them myself on different levels, I felt like this should have been in the main plot. And then some of the tie-ins didn't seem to make sense. Like the Miles thing where he got control of the symbiote. I was waiting for that to kind of come back in issue 5. Never did. So Miles can control his symbiote. Now he can't. Like,
well, that feels a lot to me like there just wasn't communication between who was working on the Miles book and who was working on the Absolute Carnage book.
Yeah, because we covered the Miles tie-in because it was pretty cool. Like, oh man, Miles battling against the symbiote and he wins and he controls it, and now what?
Yeah, and then he's just like, please save me in the Absolute Carnage book, and you're like, wait,
aren't you like super powerful now? What happened there?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, I got 2 more books I did want to talk about before we go back into our other topics. I don't know if you had some you wanted to talk about.
No, there's nothing. Like I said, there wasn't really a lot that came out that like blew my mind or that made me like I really got to talk about this. People are really expecting me to talk about the Question, the Black Label book, and I'm kind of like, it was the Question. If you've ever read a Question book, or you've ever expected a Question book, it's exactly what you expect, which is good. But like, it didn't blow the doors off. I was kind of like, cool, cool, they're doing that, and it's not a Batman book. Like, right, keep it up, But otherwise.
I'm excited for that too. Just something not Batman. I love Batman, but you have a big universe here.
and the Black Label thing could be spectacular, but instead it means nothing. It's just kind of like, instead it's just a catch-all for books that they don't want to put a rating on. And but otherwise, as far as the publishing line goes, there's nothing that blew my mind that I was like, oh, this was a standout for me.
Yep. Speaking of Batman, though,
yeah,
Batman has still been going. There's 2 more, and I think they came out 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. But Batman has still been going. What do you think of this finale we're coming to?
Oh my God,
go ahead. The worst part is I've been the biggest defender of Tom King, but the biggest thing I've been stating is, if all of these issues come to an epic ending, then we have an epic 100-issue run.
Practically.
Because while he's had up and downs, if it all comes together, perfect.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's coming together, Sal.
No. Oh, no. I was off by volume 2 of the Tom King run. I literally was like, oh, I see where this is going. I can't get into it. I don't like his interpretation of Batman. I'm not on board. And I would periodically pop in and see, like, the annual was good. Oh, cool. His Mr. Freeze 2-parter was kind of fun.
Yep, I like that.
I liked the Catwoman meeting up, the Catwoman double date with Lois and Superman. Like, oh, neat. Like, the guy is a good writer. I love his vision. Seraph Babylon is excellent. Omega Man. But, like, his Batman for me has just been not what I want out of Batman at all.
I get he's trying to deconstruct Batman.
I don't buy his deconstruction. I'm just like, I'm not on board. Like, you feel free to do it, but I don't like it.
50 issues, in my opinion. It should have been a 50-issue deconstruction of Batman. Take out all 90% of the fluff. Our latest issue isn't even anything. It's a final will and testament of Alfred. And the one before that was just Batman and Bane punching each other for 20-ish pages. Yep. Like, nothing came out of that. Like, that's what's bugging me. So many of his issues have so many unnecessary pages.
Oh, no, it's literally just like, if you read the last page of every issue, you will know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and that's what's bothering me. And I get it, the artwork is insane, but what he's doing is he's basically writing out a script to a movie, and they're literally doing panel by panel storyboard issue. It's like no one looked at his storyboard for everything and said, why do we have 10 pages of them just lounging on a beach? Why do we have 20 pages of them punching each other? We normally do that in 3. Like
at least the last 10 issues, you can read them in about 6 minutes.
Because he doesn't even say anything.
Like, nothing is said, and I appreciate good comic book art, but how long can I dwell on a panel of Selena lying on a French Riviera beach?
Well, what bothers me is like the Batman Bane fight that we had. I think it was 82 or 81.
Right.
Literally, it's just like, and now he punches him, and now he punches him, and now he punches him, and now he punches him. And
no, there was
again,
nothing
you want us to feel like it's a long,
that.
drawn-out fight. Good job at that. Now I don't want to read this anymore.
Right. Well, like there's other artistic conventions you can use to indicate like fatigue or laborious battle, but instead it's just kind of like fluff and filling pages, and I don't have the scratch or the patience to dedicate 100 issues of that kind of thing. I mean, like, the War of Jokes Dwindle should have been everybody's indication, like, oh, he really should only have, like, 12 issues. Like, I mean, I think that a Tom King 12-issue run sounds pretty solid to me.
Oh, yeah, like the Batman Catwoman thing he's doing. That sounds great.
Which sounds to me like, I think, what is he? He's off at 86? 85?
86 is when Tynion takes over.
Okay, so 85. It sounds to me like the Catwoman Batman book will be about 15 issues.
Yeah.
Because, like, them saying, like, oh, no, like, we're kicking Tom King off the book, but we're giving him his own book, and it'll be a continuation of his story. Like, then you didn't kick him off the book. Like, you just changed titles.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They realize that the main Batman title has not been doing as well as it should be doing, regardless of where it ranks on the Comic-Con scale and all that other crap. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're just like, we're going to move you off at this point. And he's, but you're getting your book, you're going to finish your story. Because I will say that, and that was what pissed me off the most when they said they're moving him off. Don't cut the story short at this point.
No.
Like,
at this point, it's too late.
Yeah,
issue 60 was the time to do it. Issue 50, issue 40 was the time to do it.
That would have been the time to cut him short and end the story. You don't let him get to 80 and then go, never mind.
Right. I mean, like, well, you know what you do? You edit the guy. You go, okay, you want to do 100 issues? Okay, but you got to get a lot more in there. And, like, so you just handed in a page, you just handed in a script for issue 82, and there's only 7 pages. So you're going to need to add like 14 more pages to this freaking issue. And when I say 14 pages, I don't mean 14 pages for Mikkel Yannon to play. I mean 14 pages of stuff that happens. If you need to focus on what like how sad Damian is, if you want to focus on Catwoman's internal monologue, I don't care what you do, but you got to put some stuff in this comic book to justify the $5 price tag.
Yeah.
And they just don't.
And I think that's the issue. And I get Tom King's got a certain way of telling a story.
Sure,
I get he's trying to deconstruct Batman. I do like a lot of what he's done with this run. It's just gone on too long, man. I want to go back to just Batman adventures. Like, we shouldn't be in a day and age where everyone looks at the Batman book and goes, oh, I'll get to it. But looks at the detective and goes, oh my God, Tomasi's killing it. Gonna go read this.
Yeah. I mean, like, and Tomasi should be celebrated as an author, and he should be, like, everyone should love his Batman run, but it shouldn't be like such a clear head and shoulders victory.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Speaking of the Tomasi run,
Batman Universe is great. I love that.
What do you think about the Tomasi run?
At the very least, Tom King's reign over Batman has allowed for other Batman books to kind of like blossom.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Like the Bendis Batman Universe, that's been a great book. And the Tomasi run, which I wanted to bring up. What is your opinion on Tomasi's complete reimagining of Nora Freeze?
It was bold. You know, it's funny because, like,
it's a complete flip on the whole character of Freeze.
Totally is, and it's like kind of fun.
I like it.
The fact is, Tomasi cared about what she was and is interested in doing something else, but isn't, like, the New 52 interpretation of Nora was horrible. The New 52 where she was like, they were never together. She was this actress that he was obsessed with. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But Tomasi's like, no, that sucks. We're not going to do that. No. We're going to use Heart of Ice origins for Nora and Victor. And then it's like, well, we wake her up and she's also crazy and cool and evil. And it's like, I'm in. Like, I think that's fun. Because how many Mr. Freeze stories are there, and how many do you remember? And I guarantee you that if you remember, or there are about one, like, handful of them. And so as a result, why not give Mr. Freeze like a Bonnie and Clyde story? Like, why not?
I just like the idea that she is just as crazy as him. Like, everyone's always been like, oh, he's a sweetheart, and he has such a normal life beforehand. And no, you're a guy who decided to find a cryo thing, turned your skin blue. Of course you're hooked up with a crazy chick. Like,
yeah, and I love the idea that he was like, nah, I'm kind of not, like, you know, you were kind of my life's pursuit. I'm done. She's like, no, let's go mess things up. And you're like, it's kind of like a Lady Macbeth thing going on. I'm kind of digging that. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. It's changing things. It's being innovative, and it's doing new stuff without disrespecting what came before and not trying to reinvent the wheel. And that's just pure Tomasi. That's just what he does, man. And it's, you know, that's why you put him on the book. That's why Tomasi should have been put on Batman. But whatever. I mean, like, listen, I think Tynan's going to do a great job. I'm just saying, like, you know, Tomasi, kind of earned his keep at this point.
The last thing I want to talk about comic book wise, unless you got some books you wanted to go into, was the situation of Flash Forward. I don't think we've ever touched on the idea that Wally West is going through these multiple universes.
No.
And I think it's 3 weeks old now, but he just went through the vampire universe.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I'm that sounds fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. You should read it, and we should talk about it next week, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flash goes to the vampire universe. Is it the Batman Red Rain or Blood Rain or whatever universe?
Yeah, it is. That is like the universe, but like everyone else has been changed up.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. And Wally's got to run around, and you see more of what happened after Batman basically became Dracula. It's like the aftermath of Red Rain, so it's really cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that Williamson?
I don't think so. I'm sure
Well,
Chad
either
will correct this
way,
in a minute.
It sounds great.
So, okay, moving on to a topic that's not comic book related on our comic book show, but it's still comic book
Yeah, people keep
related.
talking about how we don't talk about comics. Well, there you go. We just talked about comics for like 45 minutes.
Hey, I think Absolute Comics has done a much better job of at least giving 15 minutes straight to comic book discussion at the beginning of every episode.
I agree with that.
Yes. Now, I saw your tweet on this, Sal. So how do you feel about the Green Lantern starting a new Injustice with the Black Stars?
Oh my God. Like this Black Stars book. Okay, so Black Stars. By the way, 3 issues. I guarantee you Grant Morrison's going to throw it all away at the end of the 3rd issue, and we're just not going to deal with it. And it's going to be like, we're going to go back to basics. Because Grant Morrison loves this universe, and he loves the stories and the past, and he likes playing with the convention. But if you've read the preview, at least, I think by the time this episode comes out, issue 2 will be out. But in issue 2, the Black Stars, led by Hal Jordan, go to Earth, and Earth is... the Justice League is like a bunch of... I don't know, Grant Morrison's taking the piss out of the Justice League, and the current runs that have like dogged their flagship characters. Like in 2 panels, he dunks on Tom King and Scott Snyder. Or like literally Hal Jordan's talking to Superman. The Watchtower has like outdoor advertising on it, like big logos on it and everything like that. It's his way of saying like DC's kind of gone really corporate. And Superman says that, we don't have time to fight supervillains because we have to deal with our 21st century mental health issues. And I'm like, oh my God, did you just dunk on Heroes in Crisis? And it's like, yeah, I'm Grant Morrison. I can do whatever I want.
You really can. I don't know. What did Grant Morrison do that has given him so much clout to do whatever he wants? Like, what was his big thing? It wasn't like he wrote Killing Joke or or like Watchmen or any of that stuff. That's why everyone ignores Old Man Alan Moore. We're all like, oh,
right.
He wrote some freaking epic stuff. So he gets to be old crotchety Moore over there.
He gets a pass. Yeah, no. Alan gets a pass. Well, Morrison,
And I like Morrison's writing. I do. But I always find it funny that companies like DC will hire this man who will then, in their books, shit on them.
Oh my God. Oh no. Final Crisis. The end of Final Crisis is editors are bad. They're vampires who will bleed you dry. And I'm like, what? The whole thing is about how the comic book industry sucks? Like,
yeah,
what?
That's what I mean. Like, he keeps coming back to it to shit on it. And I don't,
Right.
as much as I enjoy his writing, what did he do that is so epic that he gets that pass?
Grant Morrison was part of that whole like British invasion. He's Scottish, but like the invasion of comics, and he redefined and kind of like made Doom Patrol relevant. He wrote Animal Man and made Animal Man interesting and relevant. He wrote All Star Superman, which is of course one of the top 5 best Superman stories of all time. Like he gets, for me, he gets a pass in terms of like the contributions when he's actively trying to tell. I mean, he wrote the JLA and literally made them relevant again. Like it used to be the JLA were these D-list 2nd, 3rd, 4th stringers, and then he's like, how come Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman aren't in the friggin' Justice League? And like made that a thing. Like back when he was like, I want to talk about this, and he was mostly concentrating on taking the piss out of Marvel at that point, but now he's kind of like, well, I mean, nothing is what I like about the DC universe right now. I mean, you heard, what was it, like, I'm sure when you talked to Scott Snyder not too long ago, I remember he mentioned that when he was talking about pitching the destruction of the Source Wall, Grant Morrison and he had a conversation, and Morrison said, on the other side of the Source Wall is the Marvel Universe. That's what you need to do.
Right.
And instead, Snyder's like, how about instead it's Perpetua? And I feel like that in and of itself kind of like is a good distillation of those two's interpretations of where the DC universe should be going. Like Morrison's like, DC is part of a greater collective of like comics, and Snyder's like, how about a big monster god who wants to destroy everything? And you can see that Morrison's like making fun of that idea in Black Stars #2, where he says that like he makes fun of the dark multiverse by calling it the Depressoverse.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's amazing, and you're just kind of like, and because Snyder and Morrison have had like lunch together and talked about the ending of things like the Justice League run and stuff like that, I feel like it's friendly, that it's like gentle ribbing. And I heard that Morrison said like, no, I'm using this Black Stars book to kind of make fun of everything. I'm not seeing a lot of making fun of himself in there. I am seeing him making fun of the stuff that's current right now that arguably is dividing the DC audience. Like, people are kind of falling off Justice League, and not a lot of people really, really loved Heroes in Crisis, and I feel like that direction is kind of where DC wants to go in as far as editorial is concerned. I don't think Morrison agrees, and I think that since Morrison has it built in his contract, he can't be edited. He gets to say whatever he wants, and I think we're seeing a kind of pure distilled Morrison. Because what's he going to do, right? Let's say he's like, I want this panel where I make fun of Heroes in Crisis, and Dio's like, no, you can't do that. He's going to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to do Black Stars. I quit. Like, because he doesn't need them. Like, I don't need you. I don't need to do that. You know who would love to have me write some ridiculous book? Marvel. So that's that.
Do you think that this kind of more confirms Green Lantern is in its own universe, though? It just seems so separate from everything. We had those theories when it launched. But it just seems so separate from everything in DC.
I think that as far as Morrison is concerned, no, it's the Hal Jordan that's been the Hal Jordan. But for him, it's Hal Jordan from like 1950.
Yeah.
I don't know if the others agree. I feel like it's really going to come down to what they do when he's done. Because when he ends Black Stars, I think he's going to keep doing more Green Lanterns. So, like, we're not going to even know
he's going right back
what
to Green
this
Lantern
is supposed to be until he's done. And even then, it's going to be interpretable. But as far as Morrison's concerned, I think this is the real Hal Jordan.
All right, let's shift gears for a moment. I had a tweet that I wanted to bring into this, but you saw the Black Widow trailer, right?
I sure did.
Okay, what did you think about it overall?
It looks like the most anticipated movie of 2013. Like
exactly. So I tweeted out, like, I'm excited for this movie. I am.
Genuinely.
Everything about this movie says it should have come out years ago. It should have been the first female MCU movie. Like, it's too little too late, in my opinion. I think it's going to hurt sales because it's not tying into phase 4 or 5, whatever we're on. Nope. It's not tying into any of the Avengers movies. It's not going to hint at anything because how can it? She's dead.
Right. Well, maybe. Well, I mean, I think that we're going to get a new Black Widow out of it.
Maybe.
Like, Elena Belova's going to show up and be like, I'm the new Black Widow. What up? I'm in the team now. Like, I think that it'll set up a few things, but more important, it's just kind of ticking the box of, yes, we really should have made the first female superhero movie starring one of the highest, most bankable female actresses of our time.
Right.
Why didn't we do that? And it's like, the problem is, like we said, this movie should have come out like 2009, 2012, 2013.
I will give them the first Avengers movie.
Right.
Once that movie dropped, she should have been in phase 2.
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah. Even if it was just a standalone spy picture, it could have at least been, $60 million. Most of it's going to Scarlett Johansson, and it's just her going on an espionage mission. It's a little harder edge than the other stuff because we can afford to do that because who cares? But instead, it's just kind of like an afterthought.
Yeah.
And this trailer did nothing to get everyone hyped. I mean, like, I'm digging on David Harbour in this movie, but like
he looks awesome. I love the I'm good. You got fat. I love that one.
He looks amazing. But I love that
Dan's
concept.
bothered by the fact that everyone has a Russian accent except Natasha.
Well, and they're all not very good Russian accents, which is like even more like everyone has a bad Russian accent. I'm like, oh no. I have a couple of problems with this trailer. Number one, I don't know what the hell this movie's supposed to be about. Number two, Taskmaster, which we should probably make its own conversation, but let's move on. Everyone else is in this trailer. Like, this movie is a Black Widow movie, but also look at all these other fun characters. Like,
Yeah.
they're trying to distract you from the fact that this is the character we wanted a movie about for a long time. What is your problem? Like, just make the Black Widow movie.
And the tweet I want to bring up is someone said, "Oh, it only makes sense to make it now because now she's more recognizable after Avengers Endgame." My response to that was, first off, she was very recognizable after Avengers. If you didn't know what happened, and actually, the reason she didn't get a movie that early on and why she didn't have action figures was Perlmutter, apparently, back in those days.
He says that women don't sell. They don't sell toys
so
or figures
make
in
action
movies.
figures, statues, no merchandise for Black Widow existed because he didn't think that women sold movies or anything. That was why she didn't exist until Perlmutter was out. Why afterwards we didn't immediately go into a Black Widow movie is beyond me.
It's not like she was in every other MCU movie and there was she was too busy.
Yeah. And then the big thing after the argument against Endgame made her more recognizable. If that's the argument, why did Captain Marvel's origin come out before Endgame?
Nobody knew who that was.
Yeah, like you can't. It just doesn't. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
so,
she's the only woman on the Avengers. They'll go.
Yes,
like they'll see it. You don't need. You know what? Hey, wouldn't it be cool if some people who went to go see the Black Widow movie didn't know her from those movies? That they were just like, I want to see this cool because you know what did make money? Lucy. And any other movie starring Scarlett freaking Johansson. How about just people go see it because it's a cool, badass woman who's kicking ass and taking names in a trailer. That's all you needed.
The worst part is they've made the Black Widow movie a dozen times. Atomic Blonde and I think there's one called Anna. And they're all this is basically the Black Widow movie without Black Widow. That's all these movies are.
Yeah, Atomic Blonde is the Black Widow movie. You missed it.
That's what I mean. So I don't know. My overall opinion of this is I'm going to see it. I don't think it's going to perform well, and what I'm worried about is that it won't perform well because it's not hyping up Phase 4. It's hyping up a dead character. It's a movie that should have been out years ago, and I'm worried it's not going to perform well, and they're going to use that as some kind of excuse to not make more female lead movies like this. They'll be like, well,
Agreed.
Captain Marvel was a hit, but Black Widow bombed, so we don't know what to do. I'm worried that that's going to be... We're going to go back to the old mindset of they can't sell movies, which is an argument that even the girl from the new Charlie's Angels was like, oh, if you guys don't go see the movie, they're going to greenlight more movies. I mean...
Oh, I know. Elizabeth Banks said that, yeah.
I hate to agree. I feel the Charlie's Angels movie bombed for a number of other reasons, such as we're tired of rebooting franchises. Charlie's Angels wasn't a property to begin with.
There just straight up ain't enough people to give a crap about Charlie's Angels.
Right.
Sorry.
And that's the problem with that. But there is, I'm probably going to get flack for saying this. I'm not. Don't worry, Sal. It's not super offensive.
All right.
Because Andy and I were talking about this when the Charlie's Angels came out.
Sure.
The problem is a female-led movie does have an audience.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you are trying to cater to women who want to see a female-led movie, from knowing many women, surprisingly I do, there's not as big of an audience of women who want to see an action movie. So you need to make the ones that come out really good so that they will want to see it, so it will sell. And when we're getting a Black Widow movie, you need to make it worthwhile seeing. So if you're trying to cater to the women who enjoy the MCU, make the female-led MCU movie worth seeing for the same reason going to see a male-led MCU movie is worth seeing. The reason why these shitty ones sold well is because we all want to see how it links together and how it's all a part of the grand scheme of things. And when you remove all of that by making it a prequel about a dead character, you're getting rid of half the reason to see an MCU female-led movie.
Yeah.
I don't think Captain Marvel was inherently a bad movie, but part of the reason most of us saw it was, how does this play into Endgame?
Right.
I mean, that was it.
Also, it's new character, fun powers, I think that with Black Widow, she has transcended it's a female-led action movie. And because it's not just Black Widow, Avenger, and culturally established superhero character. It's also Scarlett Johansson And she alone pulled in for a certain period of time a certain number of, like, a certain amount of money per box office. And it's like, just make a Black Widow movie. Don't concentrate on making it a female action movie.
I agree.
Just make a Black Widow movie. Like,
and
don't worry about what that is, what that means.
That
just
goes back to what I was saying. I think
that.
that's the problem with the Charlie's Angels. Based upon those arguments, it looks like we made a female-led action movie. You all have to see it so that there's more female-led action movies. It is made for you.
Yeah,
it's a female. Like that's what I was hearing about the Charlie's Angels with that argument. Oh, you have to see it, or they won't give us a green light for more of them. Yeah, that's how movies work. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like that's like, you got to see more superhero movies. They won't make any more. You got to see more science fiction. People were like, you got to see Blade Runner 2, or they won't be making any hard science fiction noir movies anymore. And they're not, because nobody did. Like, it's the same with all of those things. And I hear what you're saying about the female-led thing. Honestly, when I saw the trailer for Charlie's Angels, I'm like, oh, neat, they're doing another one. Okay, good luck. And
I had zero interest in it, and it had nothing to do with the cast or anything. I was like, I don't care about Charlie's Angels.
I don't care about Charlie's Angels. I don't think that's I don't think that's an awesome premise, but maybe it doesn't appeal to me, because I'm not in that demographic, or maybe I just don't, maybe I'm just the wrong audience for Charlie's Angels concept. But I didn't like the first two either, and I know that was a total departure, but I didn't hear any of the Elizabeth Banks, feminist, concepts. I just saw the trailer, was like, oh, all right. If I want to go, if I happen to, if it aligns, I will go see that. But probably not.
Yeah.
And it had more to do with Kristen Stewart than it did anything else. And even then, I heard she was great in it, and I'm like, oh, cool, good for her, because I hear she's kind of cool, and I hope she does well. Because I want everyone to break out of that Twilight thing. But at the same time, but I don't know. I just wanted it to. I wanted it to perform because I was like, oh, Elizabeth Banks, she directed this movie, cool. I think she's really funny, and I hope she does well because I want her to succeed. But I'm also not going to spend like $20 to go see this movie because, I'm not really wowed by it. The trailer alone wasn't enough. I was like, I don't know. It wasn't enough for me to get into it.
There's one of the comments I do want to touch in from one of our viewers.
Yeah.
I believe that's Gus. It's hard to read under this blackout mode. But he said that if we were to throw it into Phase 2, Phase 5 had solo movies and one Avengers movie, 3 sequels to the big stars, 2 new characters. Would we have traded Guardians or Ant-Man for Black Widow? No, I wouldn't have, but I don't see why they couldn't have put her in there as well.
The fact is, she could have fit anywhere at any time because the budget for a Black Widow movie is half of Ant-Man, and the story for Black Widow, because of the nature of her character, requires it to be a smaller scale picture. Anyway, it could have happened. Yeah. You could have literally, Ant-Man could have taken place during Avengers. Where Scott Lang is doing his own, it could have, can you imagine?
The fact is, at that point, they had Disney money. There was no reason to not throw out a 6th movie to just feature all your 4 big stars and then 2 new ones. You could have very easily done that. And
when you put out Black Widow, you put it out in February, where movies go to die, because that movie would have been the king. It would have been the Deadpool of that period, whenever it would have been put out.
Look at Captain Marvel, which came out at the end of February, early March. Still did $1 billion. If it's a good movie, it won't matter when it goes out.
Deadpool did $1 billion, and arguably most folk who don't know comic book movies don't know who Deadpool is.
Yeah, and that was a February release, and that would have been easy because Marvel, I think, up until is now finally doing first quarter movies, but they don't traditionally do first quarter MCU movies. It was normally May kicked everything off, wasn't it?
Well, and Black Widow's coming out.
I'm trying to remember, so I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure either it was May kicked everything off.
No, May is for Marvel movies. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the most part, the Guardians came out in May, either between March and June, the summertime, the summer block. But yeah, no. Black Widow's coming out in May. I'm like, well, I hope nothing bigger comes out in May because that'll hurt Black Widow.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Black Widow situation. I just want it to do well so we don't fall back to the argument that Kristen Stewart is making of, well, no one wants to see these if you don't see them. I just want it to do well so that this stops being a debate and we can be like, look, there's movies for different demographics. Some of them cross over thanks to the MCU. Let's just make them. Let's just make the movies. Exactly.
No, you're absolutely right. Black Widow should have been made already. I hope it's good. And it does well, because if it's bad it does well, then it means that it doesn't matter. Then they're going to be like, well, whatever, just put out anything. And if it's bad and it does poorly, then it's like, well, see, we don't want to make these anyway. and if it does poorly, it's the same as if it was bad and did poorly because they don't pay attention.
Right.
So yeah, I hope it does well because I also don't want to have to keep justifying female action movies because I like them. But I like action movies. I don't care who's in them.
I liked Anna in Atomic Blonde, and here's the funniest thing, and this is what I find to be the funniest, and this is why I brought up my topic about like there is a niche of women who want to see female-led action movies. I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but I know quite a few women who don't like explosions, blood and guts, guns. Like, they don't want that. But there are. Like, my own wife loves those types of movies. But what I find funny, a kind of enter topic on that, when they make those female-led movies and they cater to males too much, like Atomic Blonde, where it's a blonde, slender girl with no muscle mass, my brother's wife was like, I don't want to see that. That's not believable that she could have done any of that.
I don't know. Tiff and I loved Atomic Blonde. We were
I thought it was great. So did Natalie.
Rocks.
Natalie loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just found that funny. And by the way, I do love how today's episode of our discussion of Black Widow is two white males talking about how can we just get the movies out there and stop arguing about this?
Right. Well, I don't want to have to justify asterisk edit just be like, I'm just hyped without somebody freaking out. Like my only negative about the trailer is Taskmaster looks like crap. Just make Taskmaster. What are you doing?
Yeah. No, the only thing I don't like about this movie is just where it places in the timeline. I'm stating this Black Widow movie should have been a true phase movie with hints to the bigger picture and all the connections and everything that makes you love an MCU.
Right.
If you're making a female-led MCU movie, make it a female-led MCU movie. Yeah. Like that's what you should have done.
It takes place after Civil War. How about you make it after Civil War, you jackasses?
Yeah. So, all right. Last topic: Superman TV show.
Hey,
how do you feel about that? Apparently, it's happening. We now have casting for 2 young white males, which everyone immediately jumped to being a Super Sons thing.
Right.
But I don't believe that's the case because Damien's not a white male, and the CW of all networks is not about to whitewash. So
that's fair. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think a Superman show. I think we're ready. I mean, like, if you pitched Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman today, it would definitely still sell. So doing like a family drama with Superman in it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. So the counter rumor that I've seen online, there's two, for everybody in the chat, no, it's more than one person. There actually is rumors going, oh, it's Super Sons. The counter rumor, and this is the one that Dan told me and I agreed with, is that it's a child Lex and Clark.
Oh.
Because if you go to the last Crisis event, they implied that the new Superman takes place in the Smallville universe. Now, this Crisis is going to give us the true Smallville return. And I guess, I forget who he is, but he's going to be in the timeline. And they even said that the continuity of the comic books are retained and everything are retained. Tom Welling is going to be Smallville Superman, which says to me that the Supergirl universe, just like the Batman Beyond thing, is the Smallville universe, but one step over. And they happen in tangent.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's like its own alternate take continuation of Smallville if Lois and Clark had a kid.
Right.
Which to me says that they're casting a younger Clark and a younger Lex so that they can tell their own version of what happened in the Smallville days.
Oh my God. That sounds very complicated. but I mean, like, all right, that sounds fine. That was a good template to draw from, I guess. It works for me. For me, honestly, and when it comes to Superman in Crisis, I'm most excited to see Brandon Routh as Superman again. That was my favorite Superman on screen.
Especially Kingdom Come.
That's what I'm saying. Oh my God. And like everyone, I remember reading an article where they were like, oh boy, like the cast, like, I can't believe how great he is. I'm like, yeah, did you see Superman Returns? He's amazing. But yeah, no, I'm hyped. I mean, like, hey, listen, I think now they've proven like, oh, so people won't get confused if we put Superman in our like show and we can still do movie Superman. Maybe we can do more stuff like that. Like maybe Batman could show up in this freaking thing.
Oh my God. I stand by what I say. I don't think Batman's going to show up because I think that they're going to use Batman as a way to get people to watch Batwoman until she has her own audience. Then Batman will spin off, just like Superman was used to get Supergirl an audience. And then he spun off on his own. Yeah. I think that's what's going to be happening with that.
I mean, Kevin Conroy as Batman or Bruce Wayne in The Crisis is a great idea. It's a great nod. I love that concept, but it's not Batman showing up in a bat costume, jumping around, doing his Batman thing. You know, like it's just not there. So I think that they need to get over that fear, especially because like, didn't they put Batman in the Titans show, and he's old too, and it's weird.
Yeah, they did. It's so weird.
And isn't it the guy from Resident Evil?
No, maybe he was in Game of Thrones.
I
He
think
was
that's
like the
him.
knight that was turning petrified with the weird skin disease thing.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
yeah,
him.
it's an old Bruce Wayne. I don't get it. But we've also had him in costume fighting Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
So, Ser Jorah. Is that his real name? I don't think it's real. It wasn't him in the costume, but I mean, they had a Batman in costume fighting Nightwing, and then we had a Nightwing fighting a Bruce Wayne. So
That's cool. Like, that's
Yeah.
Batman. That's Batman.
yeah. So anyway,
Why is the DC universe? Why is Titans okay, but CW isn't?
I wonder if DC's just throwing it out now. Like, oh, you can all do it. But see, because here's my theory on what they're doing, and I made a whole video on this, and I'm going to put it out in a few minutes. But so everyone's like, oh, Superman TV show. And I talked about what I think they're using the Superman character for and why I don't think we're going to get Damian Wayne. And that was the
Right.
whole point. Because I don't think we're going to get Damian Wayne because everyone's like, it's Super Sons. I'm like, it's not. Because
No.
if you throw out the fact that Damian's Middle Eastern, you throw that out there and you just go, okay, we're making him white. I don't think we're going to get for a simple reason of CW, I think, got the green light for Batman, hence the Batwoman show. But they're going to use it like they did with Superman. So Supergirl had a season on her own,
Yep.
and then Superman was in there to do all the ratings boost. Oh,
Yeah.
Superman crossover. Oh, Superman crossover. And they did that for 3 seasons before giving Superman a show. And I think they're going to do the same thing with Batman because this way they can use the Bat super properties, the family properties, for like 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
So if we start with Batwoman using Batman to promote views and get people in there, and we do that for 3 or 4 seasons, then we do a Batman show,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. That'd be
That's
cool.
what I'm thinking.
I mean, like, it's a sound philosophy, and I have less skin in the game because I'm more inclined to watch a Batman movie than a show. But yeah, whatever works. I mean, like, I'm just saying, don't be afraid to use your universe. No one's confused. Like, no one's gonna be like, whoa. You mean to tell me that there's a Batwoman on the show, but in the movies there's no Batwoman? Like, what's happening? Like, those aren't for you anyway if you're that stupid.
And you know, if they want to link them together, we have the new Batman movie with the guy from Twilight and
Robert
the background.
Pattinson, yep.
And the background, you just have Ruby Rose jumping across a couple rooftops.
They're never gonna do that.
Wouldn't that be incredible, though?
I would be very surprised to see that. Let's put it that way. I'd be very surprised.
So, all right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's Absolute Comics.
Yeah.
Don't forget, if you want to support the show directly, go to the Patreon at patreon.com/comicpop, patreon.com/comicstore, or subscribe right here to the Twitch channel. Or you can go to our sponsor, G Fuel, and get a 10 to 33% off, depending on when you are seeing this video. Use the code COMICS at your checkout. That's about it. Sal, you got anything you want to talk about real quick before we close out?
No, man. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us. If you like comics, check me out.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Cut the show.